All right, pretties, I'm back. We had some technical difficulties this morning. Sorry about that. So anyway, I was saying I spent 10 minutes messing with my bangs on the camera before we got started. A lot of you have asked me how I'm feeling about my bangs. I got them in late December, so it's been like 2 months out now. And I gotta tell you, it's kind of like when people talk about buying a boat, like boat ownership. It's the best feeling on the first day when you buy it and on the last day when you sell it. And bangs are kind of the same way for me. Like, I loved them the first day and I've struggled with them since, except I can't get rid of them. I got to grow them out. So they're a struggle. I've had them pinned back a lot lately just because it's been super humid. They get frizzy and do their own thing. So I did style them down today, but anyway, yes, the struggles. All right, so today we are focusing on relationship, and I wanted to title this hashtag relationship goals because that's what we're doing. We're setting some relationship goals, and I got to be honest with you, when I did the creation of this life coaching challenge, like in 2015, this was one module that I got to, and I was like, I got this. I don't really need to work on this one. My relationships are good. This is also about personal growth, and I was thinking the same thing, like, I'm really good about personal growth. I've always been very focused on, changing patterns from my past and role modeling something different for my kids and, healthy patterns of behavior and all that good stuff. So I thought that this was an area that I didn't need to work on. What I found out instead was that this was the area I needed to dig in the deepest on. And I think that this is one of the modules that makes people uncomfortable, and it's not one that we necessarily want to dig into, but I'm here to tell you that this one is absolutely the most worthwhile to dig into because our relationships affect everything, and just getting that deeper level of intimacy and relating better with everybody in our lives is so crucial to our mental health and our satisfaction and all of that good stuff. So that's why we're going to set some goals right now for relationships that we can work on. This is really something that we're going to be doing in week 4. We have a whole week of relationship stuff that week. So right now we are just going to start off with setting some goals. And, even if you're like me and you're saying, oh, my relationships are fine, this doesn't apply to me, the truth is we can all do better and we can have more fulfillment in our relationships, whether it's your spouse, your siblings, your friends, your kids, your parents, your coworkers, whoever. And, really, we also need to focus on our relationships with ourselves. What can you do to honor yourself more, and what have you done lately for your own personal growth? So, we're going to get really honest with ourselves and we're going to really dig in. I'm going to go through some relationship goals with you in a little bit so you have some ideas and some examples of what this looks like. But first off, I'm going to talk about something that really changed my marriage. And you may have already seen my coffee chat on this that I did last fall. If not, you can catch up on all of my coffee chats on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Alison Lumbatis. But I talked about the one thing that truly saved my marriage. And it's funny, I put my wedding rings on upside down today. Speaking of marriage, it's kind of subconscious. I stacked 3 rings and I put them in the opposite order, which is totally weird. But anyway, so I talked in that coffee chat about a really difficult period in my marriage, and it happened, I want to say like 12 years ago. And how Craig and I were just kind of spiraling downward. We were stuck in this cycle, and it just kept going down and down and down. And neither one of us knew how to stop it. We just knew it was bad. And you might be there right now. This might feel really raw for you. And I think that the hardest thing in that period was that I felt really hopeless. And if you feel hopeless right now, I just want to assure you that there is always hope. And I want to share my story with you because there might be something in here that is going to help you and where you're at today. So yes, we got into this downward spiral, and a lot of this, for me personally, had to do with just focusing on what was wrong in our relationship. And at the time, I felt like everything was wrong. So we went through several months of things just being really hard, lots of arguments, more bad times than good. And I was praying a lot and really leaning into my faith at this point because, again, I felt hopeless and I didn't know what else to do. I knew that the things that I was doing weren't helping matters at all, and we needed divine intervention. And I got that. So one Sunday I was walking out of church, and there were some CDs that were in the lobby, and one of them I saw was on the topic of marriage. So I picked it up, and I never said anything to Craig. I slid it in my purse, brought it home, put it in my laptop the next morning, and listened to it. And one of the things that really struck me in that was the advice that we tend to focus on the 20% of what's wrong in our relationships instead of the 80% of what's right. And when we shift the focus to what's right, we are able to then hit the reset button and clear out the negative thinking and all that stuff that's, you know, continuing to get us into trouble. So I thought to myself, this is going to be really hard, but I'm going to sit down, I'm going to make a list of the 80% that's right in our marriage, and, you know, list out all of Craig's good qualities and all of the things that are right. So I did that. And I still have that list. Actually, I have talked before about my prayer journal that I keep on my laptop. I've kept it for 10 years. And this prayer journal has over 2 million words in it. Actually, I've kept it for more than 10 years. But in that list, I went through it and read through everything that I listed out. And I realized that I've had, you know, like a top 3 list for what I always wanted in a spouse. And this was something that I thought about back in my 20s. And Craig had all 3 of the things on that list in spades. So to me, you know, instead of focusing on those 3 things that I really love the most, that were the most important to me, I was focusing on this 20% of just junk and crap, basically, that didn't matter. So I shifted my focus onto that, and I started complimenting him on these things. And at first it felt really forced and fake, but after a while it got easier and easier to do. And when I noticed things, I made sure that I told him. And in turn, that changed his attitude, and he was more willing to do those things. And overall, it changed the tone in our marriage, where we were coming from a place of just like being enemies with each other to being on the same team again. And honestly, I think that's the hardest thing in marriage, is sometimes, you know, we have to make sure that we're on the same team and we're playing for Team Lumbatis. This is our family, this is our team. And we share this concept with our kids too. Like, you know, if any member of the team is plotting against someone else on the team or arguing with someone else, then we're not able to work toward our main goals in life. So really just shifting that focus gave us the break and let us step back from the problems and have the headspace cleared so that we could address things from a healthier perspective. You know, one of the things that we had to do was learn how to communicate in a healthy way. And please don't get me wrong, when I say focus on the 80% and not the 20%, I'm not saying that you should push things down or create resentment or never talk about them, because those are all unhealthy ways of dealing with it. And things that I was doing to him, like I would, you know, withhold affection or, you know, be passive aggressive or give him the silent treatment or, you know, expect him to be a mind reader. And I think a lot of times we do that. We think that, oh, he's just supposed to know this. And early on in my marriage, those were all the tactics that I defaulted to first. Were I thought that he would just assume what my needs and wants were, but we're wired so differently. It doesn't work that way. So really learning to communicate in a healthy manner. And the only way you can do that and sit down and talk to each other is by really just, you have to get to a place where you can talk to each other. And sometimes we have to approach it from the perspective, and I'll say, this just happened last week. I don't even remember what it was about. It was something minuscule. But anyway, I said to Craig, I want to talk to you about something, but I don't want you to get mad about it. And he knows that when I approach a conversation like that, that means I need him to listen and not get defensive. But in order to do that, why do we get defensive? Because we feel like we're being attacked, right? So we had to really learn how to communicate with each other in a healthy manner and do it in a way that neither one of us felt attacked. in a way that it could be productive and that both of our needs could get met. So one thing that we did that was super helpful was we sought out marriage counseling, and I am a huge proponent for it. I think every relationship can benefit from marriage counseling. You can learn communication tools if that's something that you've struggled with. You can, air your grievances in front of a third party that is being completely objective. But there are so many good things about counseling, and if you need it, then absolutely, make an appointment. If you've tried therapy in the past and it didn't work for you, you didn't click with the therapist, or it wasn't what you expected, keep trying. This is worth working on and continuing to work on. But just learning how to, be an effective communicator, and especially if you've never had a role model for a healthy marriage, maybe your parents were divorced, or maybe their marriage was dysfunctional, or you just don't know what a healthy marriage is supposed to look like. Therapy also really helps with that. But you can also read books if you don't want to go to therapy, and everything is Googleable. I just made that word up, but it's so true. You can Google anything that you want to know. You just have to have the desire to make things better. And you really have to drop your own agenda. If you're going into this thinking that you're right and this is the only way, you have got to see things from both sides. You have to have that perspective, or it's just not going to work. So, whatever the relationship may be, it could be a difficult relationship with a parent. I used spouse as an example. It can be a difficult relationship with a sibling. It's so worth it to work on your relationships and get to a deeper level of intimacy and understanding. And really, this is what makes life worth living, is our relationships. And when people get to the end of life, psychologists have studied this over and over again. The important thing is how much time you spent with your loved ones and the quality of your relationship. So it's totally worth working on for your entire lifetime. Don't ever think you're done working on this, because you're not. We never get to a place where we can just kind of skate along. And if you are in that place, then I want to tell you that it's dangerous territory. There's always a deeper level that you can get to. And I also understand, I need to address this here, that if you're in an abusive relationship or there's some other extenuating circumstance, maybe focusing on the 80% is not the right thing for you to do. It's to get help first, and definitely, get professional help in that situation. Also, if this is one of your relatives and there's something going on there that's unhealthy that maybe you just need to detach and step back from, that's perfectly fine too. And maybe that's one of your relationship goals, is that you need to learn detachment, and you might be in a codependent relationship, and it's super important to get to the source of your codependency. But in the process of doing that, you might just want to step back from the relationship and pull your energy back a little bit to take care of yourself. I think that's super important to address too. So I'm going to go through some of the relationship goal examples and personal growth goal ideas. I didn't really talk about personal growth much, but I think that personal growth is so important for us to becoming a whole person. And this is something that we can all work on. So some personal growth goal ideas: living in the present moment and stop worrying about the past and or the future. This one is so difficult for me. I live in the future all the time. Like, I'm a planner and I want to always be looking toward the next thing instead of just slowing down and being in my body right now. So, some ways that you might do that are to, come into the awareness of the present moment, and just really, you can do that through meditation, through prayer. There are lots of different ways that you can do that, but maybe take a few minutes every day just to live in the present moment. Next is get coached and learn how to evolve yourself. Maybe work with a life coach. I talked about therapy already, but coaching is really, really good, especially when it comes to personal growth, because it's not really focused so much on the rearview mirror. It's focused on looking through the windshield of the life that you want to create and the destination that you want and how to get there. Another one is to create reserve in areas of your life and have more than enough. Shift from not enough to a more than enough mentality. I think a lot of us have scarcity mindsets, and that affects a lot of the things that we do, but just realizing that there are more than enough resources in this world for everybody. Like, jealousy is a waste of time. If there's something that you want or something that someone else has, this whole world is your oyster, and you can have that too, and you can create that for yourself, whether it's a happy marriage or a bigger house or whatever that looks like for you. There's enough in this world for all of us. Find a church or religion that resonates with you. You know, my faith I talk about a lot, and it's a huge part of who I am. I think that that has really been key to my personal growth and has been, you know, right there along with this journey of growth for me. You can do things like things that are good for the environment that make you feel good, like recycling or donating clothes that you don't use. You know, giving and serving are things that are super good for us and make us feel good, and they do good for others too. Being a positive thinker. I am a negative Nelly sometimes, and my mindset can really affect me and get me in a negative headspace. And sometimes I have to first check myself and say, okay, Allison, is what you're thinking true? Is this actually happening, or is this some scenario that you just made up in your mind? And a lot of us are worriers. I'm a worrier. So I really have to check my thoughts on a regular basis. And when I get into negative headspace, I have Craig be my accountability partner in that. And he'll say he's good at picking up, like we've been together forever. So we met on a blind date when I was 18. So we know each other really, really well. And he can pick up like that when there's something going on with me. And he'll say, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? And he knows he has to push me because I'm not the type that'll just openly say, I got this on my mind. But he is my accountability partner with mindset issues. If I say, I'm in a really negative headspace this morning, this is what's going on, then he's really good about listening to me and helping me just to inject some reality into the situation. Stop gossiping or talking about others. You know, I think this is super important. If you have a group of friends that gossip all the time and just kind of makes you feel bad, maybe that's a group that you need to step back from for a little while and feel good about that, or find some new friends that aren't as focused on talking about others and are focused in some more positive areas. It might be removing a habit. Maybe you have a habit or hang up that's getting in the way of you being the best version of yourself. It could be going on a week-long media fast. You know, I've talked before about my struggles with social media. I honestly hate a lot of aspects of social media, and that makes it really difficult because of what I do, because I realize that reaching a wider audience means being comfortable with social media, but I have to be really protective of myself when I'm on social media and follow accounts that are positive and just really be a careful consumer when it comes to media in general. Maybe that's the news. You can't watch news. I can't watch news. I don't do it. If there's something I need to know, I know that I'll know it. All right, spending time alone. I'm an introvert, so I love to spend time alone. It's how I recharge my batteries, but maybe this is something that you want to make some more space for. Feeling motivated and not stuck anywhere in your life. Yeah, do a gut check with yourself once in a while and ask yourself, do I feel stuck in any area of my life? Is this something I can work on? This is a good one. Initiate events more and stop waiting for them to come to you. And this is another problem. As an introvert, I don't reach out often to invite others into my world. I wait for the invitations to come to me. So maybe you want to plan something and create your life the way you want it. This next one is super important. Feel grateful and keep a gratitude journal. I love this one. When I'm doing my prayer journal every single day, I write things in here that I'm thankful for. Our family has a practice that when we sit down at that dinner table right over there, we do thankfuls and go through some things that we're thankful for in the day. And we also talk about our highs and lows from the day. The thing that we really enjoyed that was a super high of the day, and then sometimes if there was a low. This is a good way for us just to kind of all check in with each other and have some meaningful communication and conversations at the dinner table. Reading the Bible regularly. That's, you know, I love my devotions, and I'm not as good about reading the Bible as I am about my devotions, but that's one thing that may be good for you. And of course, praying regularly goes along with that. Volunteering your time to a cause that excites you. You know, maybe you aren't happy with the current political climate, or maybe there's something that, you know, there's an environmental issue that you're excited about, or maybe there's, you know, some way that you can help others in your community, you know, volunteering at a homeless shelter, something that excites you. If there's something in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to do, like I've always wanted to volunteer for Meals on Wheels. My grandmother got it when she was a shut-in, and I know how much she looked forward to that and loved it when they would come and chat with her, and it was like the highlight of her day. And, you know, that's something that I'm going to put on my goals list because I want to make that happen this year. Read a new personal growth book every month. That's an awesome one. If you're not into reading, there's audiobooks out there. There's all kinds of stuff. You can sit in the car in your commute and listen to some books. Or spending time in nature. I love spending time in nature. I think that's super, super important to get outdoors as often as possible. All right, so we're going to shift to relationship goal ideas now. So here's some ideas that you can do. These are fill in the blank ideas. Develop closer relationships with my parents by, and then you can fill in the blank there. Develop, and this goes for kids, siblings, spouse. The next one is remove draining friends from my life. If it's not possible for you to completely remove them, then maybe you, again, need to just step back from those relationships for a little while and limit your time spent in them. Here's a good one. Say no without feeling guilty. Oh my gosh, we have a whole day devoted to this about saying your best yes and being able to say no without feeling the guilt. I think we feel so pressured to say yes to everything, whether it's from FOMO, fear of missing out, or it's because you feel obligated, or because you just feel like you have to be a nice girl and you can't say no. I think it's super important for us all to learn how to say no. Honor your relationships by not stepping over important topics. Be direct and assertive. Again, you have got to be able to directly and openly communicate what you're thinking and how you're feeling, because if you don't, resentments are going to build up. So I think that this one is super, super important. Work through family problems with a therapist. Get complete, say what's on your mind. Identify the qualities of a great friend or spouse. If you're not in a relationship yet, you know, maybe write down the 5 things that you want in a relationship and start really thinking about that and being intentional about it. Make plans to visit an out-of-town friend. Maybe you need a girls' weekend. Invite friends for a girls' night in. That's a great one too. Create a ritual of eating healthy, or I'm sorry, eating together as a family. I added healthy in there. Play with my kids at least an hour a day. Set up a date night with my spouse. Renew our marriage vows. Be more affectionate. Find a hobby or activity to do with my significant other. That one's a really cool one. I love that. I think I talked about Craig and I going to our axe throwing together. We had a lot of fun doing that. I don't like trying new things, so he is. I'm an Enneagram type 5, and he is a, what's the enthusiast? 7? Anyway, he's the enthusiast, so he's like always on board for trying new things. So we balance each other out really, really well. Attend a marriage conference or workshop. Get couples counseling. Get out of a bad relationship. Become a better listener. Improve sex life, frequency or quality. I did a coffee chat on this topic when I talked about whenever I went to get my bioidentical hormone therapy and how I had completely lost my sex drive entirely for a very long time. And this was a major sticking point in our relationship. Craig thought that I was just not interested in him and was feeling rejected. And I thought there was something seriously wrong with me because I didn't even think about sex. So, you know, testosterone has helped drastically with those issues. And this is a topic that, you know, if we're having issues in our marriage with, there can be a lot of misconceptions on both sides about that. So you really need to be able to talk about that. And if you feel like it's a biological issue, like it was with me, then that's something you need to be able to talk to your doctor openly about. Where were we? Okay, learn my spouse's love language. If you haven't read the love languages book, get those, read them. It will help you understand your spouse so much better, and understanding them and where they're coming from. I know his Enneagram, I know his Myers-Briggs, I know his love language. Knowing all of these things about your partner, about your kids, helps you relate better with them and shows you, you know, what makes them tick. We can't all assume that we're the same and we think the same thoughts, and that gets us into trouble. So definitely that's totally worth it. And this last one I have is stop criticizing my mate. Say words to build up and affirm. Super important. I can't say enough about this. I tend to have a critical tongue. Again, I'm all about improvement. So what I tend to do is look at processes and relationships from a very clinical standpoint and say, what can be improved here? And then I'm always constantly focusing on what can be improved instead of looking at what's really good. So oftentimes I have to step back and just stop my critical tongue before it starts. And even if I'm thinking a thought, it doesn't need to come out of my mouth. So that's been a big lesson for me. So anyway, those are some relationship goals for you. And I would love for you guys, if you're not doing the challenge yet, to sign up at getyourprettyon.com/newyou, and you can get all of the PDFs there that you can print out, and you'll get this list of goals to work off of. Maybe you like some of these and they resonated with you, and you can add them to your list of relationship goals. If not, maybe you'll have some of your own. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Hop into our private Facebook group for the Rediscover Me Challenge and let me know where you're at with all of this. Again, I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of us, and I think that the more we talk about it with our girlfriends, the better, and the more productive the conversations are too. Like, you know, one of my big pet peeves is hearing women complain about their relationships. And I understand the need for venting with your girlfriends. I totally get that. But come to it in the space, like, promise me that you're going to come to it in the space of wanting solutions and to talk through things in a healthy manner and to find solutions, because ultimately that's going to make your life better. It's going to make you happier. So please just think about that, doing it from that standpoint. So anyway, I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about relationship goals and personal growth in our Facebook group today. And I will be back here tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about consolidating all of our goals for the week and boiling them down into what we're going to work on in the coming week. So thanks for tuning in today, guys, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Bye.